Welcome back to the Fargonauts. Today we're just going to be talking a little bit about X-Men 97, the cartoon series
Yeah.
from Disney Plus.
Yep.
They hit it hard last season. I loved the whole, was it Krakoa stuff?
They haven't done that yet. Somehow they'll get there soon.
What did they do last season then? That was big. Oh, the Gambit thing.
They just did 20 years of continuity in like 10 episodes. That's all they did last season.
And what it seems like this is more Cable stuff.
So last season we hit a bunch of big storylines like Asteroid M. You hit oh my god, brain's taking a shit. They fucking did the entire Inferno crossover as like a fucking B plot in one episode. They're burning through continuity fast.
Right.
But yeah, so now this season has to do with Apocalypse.
Yep.
Because at the end of last season they got shunted into the future and into the past. And Cable is indelibly
Cruz, right?
Yeah. Cable is indelibly tied to Apocalypse. His future is the Age of Apocalypse, or not Age of Apocalypse, but Apocalypse has taken over. He is the prophesied chosen one to defeat him and whatnot. And you get this first two episodes, or whatever it is, or first few episodes, have to do with a couple different storylines. One is the Rise of Apocalypse, which was a kind of shitty miniseries from the 90s, which is what the past stuff has to deal with. And then was it Cyclops and Jean Grey, The Adventures of Slim and Red, or whatever the hell it was called, which is also a shitty miniseries, or there was two miniseries in that, also from the 90s, that are about Cyclops and Jean in the future raising young Cable. And then the future stuff obviously has to deal with a lot of, or no, that was the future stuff. But yeah, so they cover a lot of shit in this first part. We'll discuss it for the fact. It's the thing, one of the reasons I wanted to do this is just simply the fact of how much ground they're covering really fast.
Does it feel like Whiplash to you, or does it feel like you're not getting enough time to digest everything?
Inferno was a storyline, like a whole X-Men crossover event, like over multiple issues, multiple series, whatever. And they did it as a B plot of an episode last season. One episode B plot.
Did you feel a lot was lost from that? Like what were big moments in there that you remember?
It's the Goblin Queen stuff. It's Madeline Pryor, Mr. Sinister, and it's fight over Nathan and all this stuff, and fight over Nathan. But it's a huge crossover about that stuff, and we're now like I said, like some of this stuff. I'll cover what we've covered already in this, but like they hit a lot of the X-Men's like biggest things from the late 80s, early 90s, or through the 90s. I know this season we're going to get to like new X-Men and like astonishing X-Men stuff, and that's from like the mid 2000s, early to mid 2000s. So like they're burning. They're like we're hoping for 5, or we might do like 5 seasons. And one of the guys was like, kind of hope we do 10. And I'm like, what the hell are you gonna do when you get to that? Because we're almost out, brother. We're running the drain. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff. Again, after we watch this, I'll run through some of the things we reference and cover. But
I'll just say, watching this, I thought I had a good grasp on last season, the first season.
Yeah.
And when I started watching this one, now that we're split the party, I got really thrown off really quick. It's like if you don't pay attention to an episode of Venture Brothers, where you turn around, it's like, wait, what's happening now? Like, where are we?
And I think it's because of how fast the show moves.
Yeah,
it
very,
moves
very
quick.
fast. So, I mean,
not just through continuity, but just in general. And there's no like consistency of like when they're going to go forward or backward, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes you spend a really long time in one part, and then all of a sudden you're at this part for a little bit of time, and then you're whatever. But yeah, it's a good time. I'm enjoying it.
I got mostly up to speed once we hit the first part of the Apocalypse run, like the part 1 of the two-parter thing. I was like, okay,
yeah,
I'm on board with this story. I know what I'm watching. I know who this guy is. I know his motivation.
So
I know what they're trying to do.
After 4 episodes?
I know what our team is trying to do. I know that he might screw it up, and there's a lot of great stuff with Magneto and Charles and the Apocalypse prior to him becoming Apocalypse Prime, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
When he's just regular old En Sabah Nur.
Yeah, just being newer, and then the other dude that's like the Pharaoh,
Ball.
kind of doing his own thing. No, not Ball. The other dude with the ancient tech.
It's another dude, brother. It's a very specific dude.
Right. But yeah, when those conflicts were happening, I was like, okay, I get where we're going, and now I'm on board. So I'm not lost.
No.
All right, so this is the first episode of season 2.
Yes. Yeah.
Pretty fast paced, but I really dug the storm stuff. That was that's what I connected with when I watch this back now, because I do remember they're like, oh yeah, you can power the solar winds, or you can harness that. I was like, that's pretty dope. Why hasn't she done that before? So
there's
when she hit that, I was like, hell yeah, that's freaking nuts.
Oh yeah, there's so much shit that happened last season that I forgot it happened. So like I think in the credits, she lost her powers for a bit, right?
Yeah.
Last season, when I had the mohawk and stuff. Okay, so that was a storyline called Life Death in the comics, and then Wolverine got his adamantium ripped out by Magneto, right?
I actually don't remember that part.
That happened last season.
It could have. I don't recall it though.
It's from a storyline called Fatal Attractions. I think it happened on Asteroid M.
Oh yeah.
See on there. But anyway, so like this episode, again, the primary adaptation with this is the like adventures, the Cyclops and Jean Grey adventures of Red and Slim or whatever. There's two mini series. One is the adventures of, and the other one's the further adventures of. But raising young Cable in the future. But they incorporate some other visual nods to other things, like Cyclops and Jean's costumes that they have on, or like underneath their cloaks and shit, or the costumes they wore in the original incarnation of X Factor.
Okay.
Like the original X team, all went their own separate ways by and large, and then they came back together in the 80s or late 80s, mid 80s as X Factor, and that's the series where Angel gets turned into Archangel. In the comics. The X Factor is also where you first meet Apocalypse. It's like X Factor number 3 or some first appearance of Apocalypse. 8. Maybe.
So they're just
first
doing that.
They're
doing that costume thing as like just a nod. They're not really doing much else.
Just a nod, because nothing story wise. Because you remember we meet X Factor, and it's the second incarnation of X Factor. My favorite incarnation.
Yeah, they're doing.
There's a picture sent you.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, after Brian gets his adamantium ripped out, Magneto triggers something in him where he, for some reason, kind of like devolves and goes feral. He becomes more kind of like animalistic looking physically, and like for some reason he loses his nose. Like he doesn't have a nose. It's weird.
Sure.
But
Why not?
that costume, the costume he's wearing in this, is reminiscent that, or to a degree. It's not an exact one, but here's a little icky. So like this is more. So this episode had more outside of the slight adaptations of those two minis. Some visual references to other things in the X-Men world. Their costumes too are the blue and yellow ones that they're wearing are similar to, like, they wore those for a little bit in the late 80s as well. The other bit that was so Mother Ascani character.
Mhm.
Uh, she's, again, same character from the comics, whatever, but she is actually from a different potential future. She's from the Days of Future Past future, and she is older version of Rachel Summers, potential future child of Scott and Jean from the Days of Future Past timeline.
Mhm.
And she gets, like all these potential future motherfuckers, they come into the main timeline eventually. But she was also a host for the Phoenix as well, as you can tell with all her
Oh yeah.
ironess and the Phoenix in her eyes and all that. But yeah, when she gets old, she becomes Mother Scani.
Yeah.
Guides the development of her brother, not brother.
I think in this episode, what you're supposed to derive, if you don't know her backstory, the viewer is supposed to be like, "Oh, is this future Jean?"
Yeah, right.
But the revelation
Yeah,
probably will happen later. Like, yes, I am the
maybe.
daughter.
Yeah.
Because the eyes,
Yeah,
the Phoenix power is like a dead giveaway, or like bait and switch, or
yeah. The Summers Gray family is very convoluted. Because they have like 3 children, but they're all not completely normally theirs. If that makes sense. Like Cable is the son of Scott and Madeline Pryor, the clone of
the
Jean.
clone. But yeah, that was a big
Yeah,
plot point from the last season.
Scott never. Yeah, in the comics, somehow Scott never realized she was a clone of Jean. How?
I think
But
there was
we,
some deal of that in the first
and
season too.
so he married her. They had Cable. Jean comes back. He immediately ditches his family, goes back to Jean.
He's like, "Whoa, dude!"
Yeah, and then but so Jean is like Cable's mom, technically, kind of.
Yeah,
Genetically
if
she
it's a
is.
perfect clone,
Yeah, but at the same time, she's not. Like she is, but she isn't.
Well,
And
in her
then
mind, she's emotionally not there. Probably like
yeah,
I didn't bear this child. I didn't, it wasn't my
yeah,
body.
but she is like emotionally connected to him, as you can see in this. But and then obviously then there's Rachel Summers, like I said, potential future child, and then there is Nate Gray, who is from the Age of Apocalypse timeline, potential future, and he is a genetically engineered offspring of Scott and Jean.
Okay.
So he's Cable, essentially, right? His name's
Right.
Nathan, right? And he's got the same powers and stuff. The trick of it all is that he doesn't have the techno-organic virus
Right.
that Cable has. So he is ungodly strong. Like he is stupid powerful.
Does he have power cosmic? Is he the one that has power cosmic?
No. But he is like he's an Omega level mutant, right? So but he's he's so powerful that it can be dangerous.
It's like world.
Like he. I mean, he's just he's 10 times the strength of telepathy, telekinesis, whatever that his mom has.
Sure.
He's through the roof. Um, there was a terrible, terrible storyline that happened right before the Krakoa stuff happened, where he changed reality, and it was a play on the Age of Apocalypse. It was called Age of X-Man. But he's a strong dude. But yeah, so they have these 3 kids that are and aren't their kids.
Well, one is like an offshoot of like what could
Yeah,
have been Cable.
Scott firmly has a kid. Like Cable's his out and out. Jean kind of has Cable, and the other 2 are just like potentially their children. But they are they are around in the main timeline together a few times. The first time when Cable meets this man, it's pretty interesting when he meets Nate Gray, and they have like some telekinetic or psychic feedback when they try to use their powers against each other, because it's you know they're alternate timeline versions of each other essentially. Yeah, it's pretty cool. they were on a team together too. There was a book for a while that was called The Astonishing X-Men, and it was basically like the Summers family plus like other people. Let's see, right. Um, but yeah, so the Summers Gray family's all sorts of silly.
Are they the
Mm.
main kind of like X-Men family? I guess one of the bigger families you follow that are of the good guys that like are significant to the
I
story?
mean, yeah, I mean the only other like family I get, well, there's a couple families. There's the Guthries, who a lot of their the Guthrie kids are mutants. There's Paige Guthrie, who's a character called Husk, uh, whose skin can come off, and she's got like hard skin underneath it. Um, and then there's Cannonball, Sam Guthrie, Cannonball, who basically like flies via explosions, like behind him. And
I
then
feel you.
they have another brother whose name I forget, who was kind of like Angel, had angel wings and shit.
But his were
So
just
there's the
chicken wings
Guthries.
from
His were
B-dubs.
red. And then there's like Wolverine as kind of, he's got, his son Akihiro Daken. It's like he's a bad guy for a long time. Now he's a good guy, I guess. And then there's X-23, which
Yeah.
is
A clone.
kind of a clone, kind of, but she was like also has like her birth mother's DNA in her too, I guess.
Genetically modified.
Yeah. And then she has a clone named Honey Badger. I forget what her actual name is, but like she goes by Honey Badger. It's
Mm.
another type of,
Like a Wolverine. Like
sure, like a Wolverine, yeah. But like so he's kind of got a family too. So there's a few of them, but like the Summers Gray are like they're yeah, because then obviously you have Scott, and then you have his brother Alex, Havoc, who's my boy, and then there was always this tease of a third Summers brother that Mister Sinister kept hinting at, and like uh, there's a couple options through the years. Like Gambit was like maybe going to be it, and like Adam X, the Extreme, he was meant to be hinted to be one, but then you finally get the third brother, and his name's Gabriel. He his super name is Vulcan, and he's yeah, he was born in space after his parents got kidnapped by the GR, and like he was raised like as a slave essentially up there. And the storyline talks about like there's when Giant Size X-Men came out, it was like the new team, which was Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, all those guys. They were brought together to save the original X-Men from the mutant island Krakoa that had them captive. And there's the storyline called Dark Genesis that was, or no, Second Genesis, Dark Genesis. That was about this other team of younger mutants that was over in Moira McTaggart's labs or whatever in Ireland, that were like a younger group of mutants that he was like, I need them to go save the whatever. And Moira was like, they're not ready. He's like, but I need them to do this whatever. And Vulcan was part of that. The team goes to save them, and like everybody dies except for Vulcan and Darwin. Just like power is to just like survive everything. And then like they were just like buried on Krakoa for a long time. He comes back, whatever. He becomes bad guy, goes up to the Shi'ar Empire, takes over, becomes the emperor of the Shi'ar Empire. This all leads to this big war in space, and between like him and the Inhumans. It ends in this big fight between Vulcan and Black Bolt, and fucking Black Bolt, like they're just going at each other, and Black Bolt, like out of necessity, fucking screams in Vulcan's face, and like Black Bolt's whole thing is like his voice can move a whisper can move mountains or whatever. Like his voice is destructive, and so like Vulcan's laying there just all like, he looks like a burnt husk on the ground, but he's still alive. So then like he does it again, and takes him out. Obviously he comes back during like the Krakoa shit. Like yeah, it was a whole thing, and I was just like, again, this happens. I'm like, God damn it, the Summers are messy, dude. They're just
a messy family. And this
They are.
is pretty far removed from Apocalypse kind of stuff.
Yeah, Apocalypse. He's one of those dudes that he pops up every
He
once in a
can
while.
come back, like they said. He's just like he likes to pop in whenever the need arises. I guess.
Yeah, you had his like initial appearance. You had back in X Factor, and then you had like another time he pops up in the '90s, and he pops up again in the 2000s. Pops up every decade or so, essentially.
Mhm.
The '90s you had that X Factor issue, late '80s, whatever it was. You had that X Factor issue in that initial storyline where Angel gets turned into Archangel and becomes his Angel of Death,
Mhm.
the Four Horsemen. And then there's Age of Apocalypse, that alternate future that Nate Gray's from. And then there's one in the '90s, and in that one, Wolverine is Horseman of Death. And then there was, in the 2000s, Gambit was his Horseman of Death. And that is something that's probably going to come into play. Well, not probably, definitely going to come into play this season.
Yeah, I was waiting for that because the send off for Gambit in the first season was
And
heavy.
yeah, and apparently I completely missed a credits scene in the last episode of the first season. That is Apocalypse standing there, and he has like one of Gambit's cards, and he mentions something about death.
I did see that. That was gonna lead you to believe like, oh, maybe there's more to see from Gambit, but now that you mentioned that he could be a horseman.
When he looks sick too. When he's death, his hair's white, his skin is like black, and his eyes are red. He has a black trench coat. It's really cool. But that's
sick.
definitely coming this season. Again, that's a storyline that happened in the early 2000s. So we're, like I said, blasting through the 90s pretty quick.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it's not too jarring of pace, but
No.
I do get Whiplash. I did get Whiplash maybe like the first 2 episodes, but once we got to that, first part of that 2-parter, getting to know En Sabah Nur and all that, I was like, okay, yeah, I feel comfortable now. I know the stakes, I get this.
Mhm.
I get what they're going for. It was all about like learning Cable, learning Nate, learning what they're doing in different timelines, and then
Mhm.
Charles and
Eric.
Yeah, Charles and Eric.
Like
Not just them, but like Beast and everybody that's
not
kind of
Nightcrawler, Rogue.
I think Beast is he was trying to figure out what ship could do to get them, or he's trying to use this power sources to travel through
because
times and
theirs
things
gets
like.
destroyed or whatever.
Yeah, they don't have the time travel device, so they're kind of just stranded. But
Yeah, Beast is like, I got it.
I could do this.
My favorite thing, so Forge, right? His mutant power is just that he's like really smart and good at inventing and technology. That's his mutant power.
Hey, I mean, if Charles can see that he's a mutant, he's like, yeah,
It's helpful, dude.
It's
helpful.
True blue mutant. Like, I'm just really
It's like,
good at tech.
I think at times it's kind of portrayed like he can kind of talk to it or communicate with it, kind of, or understand it at a deeper level. I don't remember, but
I get that. That's pretty cool, I guess.
when we get to there's more costume illusions and stuff like that. And little
Yeah, I don't dig
scenes.
Nate's little gi or whatever he's wearing in this.
Yeah,
His little fez that he had on earlier. Like, I was like,
Yep.
bro.
he kind of looks like what like kung fu guys wear.
He was looking like he was
Yeah,
on the
the more
verge of
Chinese
being
looking.
Haji from Johnny Quest. I was like, bro,
Right.
what are you doing?
Brother.
This is the 90s, but come on.
They the whole Ascani stuff always kind of has like a little hint of that, like there's another put a picture of Gambit death in there.
Yeah, that death's
Here's a cover, one of the covers for Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix. So he's Aladdin as hell in that.
Yep.
Yeah. Cover. Oh, dude, check this shit out. This might be in the book too, the original one. This is a cover from comic from like a year ago. There he is wearing the exact
There it is.
costume.
And they chose
But,
not to
yeah.
have Scott, I'm assuming, be like a Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, that's when they're there. They're much more undercover than they were in X-Men costumes. You know what I mean?
Sure.
More undercover.
Well, on the whole, how are you liking the show?
About
I mean,
holes?
knowing that
Yeah.
what you know from the comics, nothing is really standing
Oh,
out
yeah.
as like,
It's just
well, that's blasphemy. How could
it's
they?
just no, it's never that. Like, I'm always fine with changes and shit too. Whatever. I just the only thing that is distracting, or that's like, whoa, just like I was saying, how quick just moving through this. You know what I
Sure.
mean? How quick it's going through all of the storylines. I'm just like, brother, you're gonna have no time left.
Well, maybe
You're gonna have nothing left.
there's a method to the madness. You never know. Maybe the producers are
Well-
like just taking,
well,
they're hedging their bets on
last-
like, we need to get through this, so we hit all these marks and to keep attention on this show, to get people
Right.
talking and to financially recover from producing this. Like, it needs to
Well,
be that quick.
last season, to me, last season it made sense in that I was like, okay, they're just like, they don't know how much of this they're gonna get to make. They're just going all out and doing as much as they can.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Now the second season they're still doing it. I'm like, okay, this is just a thing overall.
I trust them that they're gonna hit the emotional beats, because the emotional
Oh, yeah.
beat of the last season,
Oh, yeah.
it hits you and you feel it, and
It's
you're
just
like,
they basically, instead of just like focusing on these stories from X-Men continuity, which they did still, but it formed the basis for the overarching story of the season. You know.
yeah,
So like, I get, yeah. So they're using it in a in a way that works.
a tactical way. They're being tactical with the stories and the story beats and the emotional impact.
Yeah.
There might be, definitely things left out from the main story, or
Things abbreviated.
just truncated, whatever. It's gonna be, it's gonna still hit the weight of it, like the main focus of the depth of the story that they're telling. Because with the Apocalypse story, Cable, you can tell maybe the sacrifices that some people are gonna have to make.
It's
and
all
choices.
about, so far it's been about, fate and destiny and all this stuff, and these two looming
impeding on destiny and trying to force your will upon destiny, and maybe you're enforcing that leads to an outcome you didn't want,
and it leads to a persistent fight through time, right?
Yeah.
Past, present, and future. There's, I sent you a picture of Rachel there too. Rachel Summers.
That's pretty dope. That's a younger version of Rachel, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Before
Oh, yeah.
Mother
That's
Ascani.
that's the version. Yeah, the version you see the most in the comics is the younger version, Rachel, and that's how. This is how she looked like when we first kind of met her, and I used that because she's got the same hair, and the facial markings and all that Mother Ascani had.
Yep.
But yeah, so yeah, dude, like it's to be fair, too, as we were talking about the Summers Gray clan, and how convoluted that shit is. You're not gonna. That just lets you know how many and how just fucking into the weeds X-Men stories get. So like, you don't need to direct adapt everything. Like
Sure.
you can just fucking move through. It's just how you use it. So and I'm enjoying it so far. So.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, there might be stories.
I got a bone to pick with the next episode though.
Okay, well, we'll have to wait for that
big
one.
Bone pick. Yep.
Well, that'll be interesting then to discuss, because I'd be interested to hear that, because I'm just going along for the ride, so having your perspective kind of helps. But I mean, with this show, they are trying to, like we said, they're trying to hit these certain markers. But like you also said, like they're breezing through things, or just completely maybe referencing it with a piece of clothing, or just some kind of subtle nod to a whole nother series.
Yeah,
a whole nother thing.
They're using the canon to service the central storyline of the season that they're telling, which is a creative way of doing that. So but yeah, my gripe is not about East. Well, I guess in a way it is. It's less about the storytelling, and I understand why they did it for the sake of the story, but it's a characterization issue I have.
I see.
So we'll get to it when we get there.
Okay, I'm interested now. So stay tuned for.
Oh, trust me, it's
Broadshow's
much
digression.
More petty, it's much more of a petty Broadshow fucking gripe than it is like a insightful thing.
Okay. Well, it's
But
just
it's
a bone.
It's still fun.
It's
a
a bone from the skeleton
big
that
bone.
you want to pick, on the dunny.
The big bone.
The skeleton
Big bone
on the
that's
dunny.
reflected on the usage and characterization of this person in the last fucking 15 years. So 10 years. So we'll get there. Broadshow's
Awesome.
bone is coming.
The broad
Broadshow's
bone.
X bone.
His
It's
X
the Broadshow's X bone. It's coming.